All right, so here we are, people. I'm talking to two of my friends today. First, at the top here, I have Ibiyemi, who is an avid film watcher. And Ibiyemi, do you want to say a few more things about yourself?
Hello. First of all, I'm not an avid film watcher, but I do.
No
you
vex.
lie.
He says that now.
Really? Okay.
but I do enjoy watching movies, and I do tend to get really engrossed in them. So I feel like I have the emotional investment to be able to have a conversation about movies that I've seen anyway.
Okay, thank you for that. Non-avid film watcher. All right, and then next, I have my friend Tolu Ibiyemi. Tolu also emotionally invested in film, TV content.
All of that she said is right. So I'm not professional. I'm nowhere near professional, but I do love watching movies. I do love watching a lot of TV. So Netflix, Hulu, all sorts of TV is my kind of backyard. And especially, sorry, Lola, my K-dramas and my K-movies.
Oh,
I am very much into Korean content. So yeah.
I don't understand that obsession. But anyway.
It's so good. But anyways, that's another conversation for another time.
Well, and so for me, I have a wee bit of experience in filmmaking, having made a short film and having worked in Nigeria's TV and film industry for a very short minute. So I also really enjoy films and TV, so always happy to talk about them and to analyze it, Anyway, so the two, I don't know what to say, the film and the series we're going to talk about today, because our focus here is going to be mostly on African content, right? No K-dramas for us, at least not yet.
Sorry, Tolu.
Sorry, Tolu. We're going to be talking about Blood and Water, which was released on Netflix. It's South African. It's a series, 6 episodes. And then we're going to talk about Living in Bondage, LIB. I hate calling it LIB because then it sounds like I'm talking about Linda Ikeji's blog.
Okay, why don't we call it Breaking Free, since that's the tagline?
Breaking Free, yeah. Okay, so Living in Bondage, Breaking Free. Also released on Netflix recently, although it had come out earlier in Nigeria. So, should we start with Blood and Water? I keep wanting to say Blood and Wine. Blood and Water.
Do this in remembrance of me. That's the Anglican in you, possibly.
Meanwhile, just a quick thing before we go on. Years ago, I started writing a series, and I wanted to call it, I think I wanted to call it Children of Blood and Water. And I asked a friend for what they thought, and they're like, ooh, that's too dark. And I was like, okay, I threw it away. So see, never listen to your friend.
You were ahead of your time.
I was.
Did you not read this is an aside, but there's a whole kerfuffle on the internet with some Nigerian author and Nora Roberts. They had that whole
mm-hmm.
Something.
I know.
You were a trendsetter.
I was, it was just a private thing, so nobody knew about it. Okay, so let's get to Blood and Water. First, I guess we'll talk about how did you feel overall? We can start with you, Ibiyemi.
I thought it was very good. To be fair, there are moments I thought, well, this is a bit cliche, felt a bit Western, the story and all that at first. But overall, I felt good. It was something that I was proud of that came out of Africa. It felt very modern. It felt very hot, very young, very hip. And it painted Africa in a very good light. So for me, it was enjoyable. And actually, I enjoyed the drama. I really enjoyed the drama. It was kind of...
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the drama. Yeah. It was quite good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything, actually. It was not this. My wife and I have this thing that we do when we watch something on TV and we look at each other and we're like, oh, very, very dramatic. And we did that a lot in this one. And that only happens when we're enjoying it. So overall, it was a very moment for us, or series for us.
Okay. Tolu, what did you think?
I thought it was interesting in a lot of ways. I think they did a lot of, for me, I found it a little, I think they were a little obvious in some of their plot points, but I think that there's a lot of interesting things that they did that makes it worth watching. And we can go into the conversation. I mean, they did a lot of things with around like sex and nudity that I found very interesting. They did a lot of lamp shading, which I was like, dude, like Ibiyemi said, I think there were a lot of points that they could have not gone with the cliche, but they went with the cliche, which I wasn't too happy about. But other than that, I thought that the character development was really great. There were some good twists and turns. There were some interesting sort of progression within the storyline that I really found that really did justice to the characters, and it's very like it's like an African version of Sabrina and the Teenage Witch, or one of these.
Yeah, I got one of those teenage. Yeah,
CW. It's like a CW show. Yeah, it was really good. I thought it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Did you get the feeling like the characters, you couldn't really hate anyone? Well, there was one person I still kind of hated for a lot of the parts, but there were lots of characters I kind of had lots of empathy for. Like, even though I don't want to be this person's friend, or I don't really like this person, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. Do you know what I mean?
I found the character a little.
I found that very interesting. Yeah, she was annoying.
You know how like you come to this school with all this drama, and then you're just like casually just dating this boy and just carrying on with life. I'm like, really?
Yeah, she was very selfish. But then that's a character trait. But then it was born out. Exactly.
Wait, say that again, Tolu.
I'm saying that's a teenager though. I guess they can take a lot. I mean, it's a lot of emotional turmoil for them. And I think back to what we were doing in high school. I'm just like, yeah, we had a little bit of some of this drama going on, not as badly, but I remember being in school and we had scandals and all sorts of things happening.
You know the funny thing about those scandals, at the time they seemed so big, right? And
because they were.
Life is over, right? And then you're talking, you're like, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it's at the same time, I felt like there was some kind of soul. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm listening to music, I'm like, I don't feel a soul. And I felt like I didn't feel.
For me, the things that I didn't, I don't know whether there's something I didn't connect with.
Yeah, that's it.
I explained it away because it was South African, if that makes sense.
And also, I'm like, okay, I'm also not a teenager, so
yeah,
I'm also jaded, now being older, and I'm rolling my eyes at these things, and maybe kids would connect differently. I don't know, but yeah, it was well done.
Should kids be watching that show though?
Yes, because that's what they do. To be honest, like this, the funny thing is like some of these things. I remember not exactly the same, but I mean things like some of the reasons when I was in high school that we would get suspended, people would get suspended. We had a lot of like seniors' rights. Like when we were seniors, you could go out and drive whenever you had a break from school and you didn't have periods. You would get in your car, you could drive out of school.
Drive.
Yes. So I went to a fancy posh school.
Okay.
So
I was like, I don't know about driving. Drive, okay. You say.
So I went to GIS, which is an international school. And when I was like a Form 3, Form 4 student, those in lower and upper 6 could get in. We could drive to school first of all. So because we were some people would be over the age of 18. So you could drive to school. When you had a free period, you could drive out of the premises and still come back as long as you attended classes. Now we had a student who his mother found him on the beach. He was supposed to be in class, and so that's how that privilege went. And then we used to have a common room for the seniors, and then there's this whole kerfuffle of some people being caught doing some things they shouldn't have in the common room, and then that got taken away. And so we had a lot of these scandals, people getting caught doing a lot of things they shouldn't have been doing on school campus. And so I can connect with a lot of that happening in like all these fancy posh schools.
But this school was extra fancy though. This school was. Did you see their classrooms? Like they had desks.
They had desks,
and iPads and things. Like
So to be honest with you, a lot of education in East and Southern Africa is kind of like that.
Oh,
really?
Really good schools, especially because I don't know about day schools, but when I was in school in East Africa when I was young, like the boarding schools would have like the class 6 students would have their own room to themselves, and these are 11, 12-year-olds, and they would have tea brought to them in their senior room, and I mean, it was really. I mean, this really East and Southern Africa is really fancy when it comes
We
to.
had corner. You had your own little corner. That's
Jeez,
what we had.
I went to Corona Secondary for 2 years. That was, I mean, I have Nigerian boarding school experience. So, but yeah, East Africa can be really fancy, and they do the uniform things and those blazers and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
But well, actually, so when you start talking about the looks, that's another thing that I thought was actually quite cool. They all looked so good. My goodness, they as in there's something that you said on your Facebook post at some point, some posts ago, Lola. You're like the camera loved them.
Yes.
And I thought the camera loved these people unapologetically, like, and they looked. A lot of them looked very. I mean, they obviously a couple of people who were kind of like mixed race or you have that tinge or something going on, but a lot of them were just black, like us, looking really nice. I thought this is so cool.
Oh no!
I really like that. I really like that.
Well, it was like that blend of like everything was sort of seamless. There were surprisingly few white characters. No white male.
There was that guy, that bisexual guy was male, was white.
Oh
Was he
really?
not?
White?
Oh, and then the teacher as well, the swim coach was, well, it's not white though, it's Asian.
Yeah.
I think he's like Asian or something. I don't.
It's Asian.
But I like the fact that the lead character was, me, I'm always about, darker skin, darker hair. And it was a lead because when I saw Queen Sono, I was like, oh no, are we going there again where it's always going to be, mixed race Africans, curly hair? I mean, nothing against people who are mixed race and curly hair, but that's all you see, it's
I'd have liked to see her best friend, because as well, and this might come out wrong, but there's this thing I've heard, at least from Nigerian men, that South African women, the way their bodies are built, like really thick and solid. And she was this kind of petite, really small, slender girl, and in her bikini, she looked amazing. I'd have liked to see her best friend who had that, what I perceive in my own limited knowledge as a sort of South African body, like very, what's the word? Is it boxing that they're looking for? If that's the polite word, I don't know. But someone
reverse.
Something very, very, very curvaceous as the main character. Somebody that actually, and I don't know whether it's right to say they look South African, but her best friend looks South African, if you know what I mean. Or the other girl who was the girl that was the press club person.
Yeah, the press club.
Yeah, she looked right. I mean, somebody like that as well. It'd be good to see people like that as the protagonist, as the person that you're supposed to like, as opposed to the person who is crazy. You know how we always have the big person is always the comedy feature, the best friend and the funny person. Yeah. I'd like to see that person as the main character. I mean, but I like the fact that they all looked really African and looked very good.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. One of the things I did like about Blood and Water was that the bestie was actually a little bit more curvy, and she was not like, her body was like, and she was getting guys, and she was, she's this good chick, and she is who she is,
and confident. Yes,
unapologetic, and she wasn't just like I mean, she was a little bit of comic relief, but not just that. I mean, she was still a best friend who had issues with her friend and was a confidant and all of that stuff. So I really, really like that.
Yeah.
Wow. You guys really thought about this. I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it, that's it.
I don't know, but anyway. No, I think it was a good show. I mean, any last words? We're going to move on just so we keep this short.
One of the things I did like was the especially early on, the sex scenes that they had. I think it's important because for both scenes, I think one with the bestie and then the one with, I can't remember whom, but with the swim coach and Pume or whatever her real name was.
Yeah.
The scenes, both of the males were naked and the women were fully clothed.
Huh, interesting. I didn't know this.
This is true. This is true.
Wait,
and there's a lot of There was a lot of sort of back nudity for the male characters.
It was all the way down. If you look, it was down. I was like, because anyways, I was paying attention. But if you look, I was paying attention. Both men were kneeling, and you could see their backs and their side profile, so you could see that they weren't wearing any boxers. I don't know whether they're wearing or whatever protection that they usually do in these movies, kind of things. But for both scenes, the women were fully clothed. And I don't think you get...
But what's her name again? Pumle? I can't remember how you say it.
No, not
the lead character.
That's her maybe adopted name. What's her real name? Ugh.
What do you mean her real name?
No, like the sister, the actual protagonist. She was naked though.
Yeah, she wasn't exactly.
Yeah, that was episode 6. So that's all the way.
But did you notice that the whole time she put her hands over her boobs? So
yeah, I noticed. Yeah.
Which I thought was I thought that was actually a very cool detail because it does two things. It didn't give us too much gratuitous flesh, but also I imagine that a teenage child or a teenage virgin will probably be a little bit shy about her body as well. And she wasn't going into it like, come on, take me. I'm this perfect woman who's confident in her body and confident in what we're about to do. So I thought that little detail also actually endeared me to her a little bit. As a father of girls, I don't ever want to imagine that that's happening at age 17. But actually, I thought, like, it made me feel like, even if it made me feel like, okay, this is a child. And made me slightly empathetic to her because there was a part of me that was like, you're not going to believe now. What's teenage girls, But actually, at that point, I was a little bit like, everybody just wants to get a little leg over, you know what I mean? So yeah, I was a little bit empathetic on that one.
A little bit of stress. Yeah, we had one of those scandals in our school, so yeah, it's not.
Oh yeah. No, I'm glad that it was realistic. I mean, children are having. Yeah. I mean, that's just the.
But I'm sorry, but children won't be having sex that looked that good.
No,
it was so well choreographed. Like the boys looked like they knew what they were doing. I'm like, calm down, Jerry. They're like.
Well, it's TV now. We can't be bumbling on TV.
It can't be fumbling around. And,
it has to be perfect.
An idea. But
so it was enjoyable, Sha. I mean, so you'd recommend it, right?
Oh, 100%,
I would. I think
100%.
that the only thing is that one of the things they did was that some of the things were so obvious that were going to happen. I knew the first scandal as it was going to happen. I knew there were some places I knew that, two characters who were going to do something when, as soon as she came into the room, I knew what was going to happen because they were just too obvious about lamp shading a lot of the things that were going on. I mean, it's like, okay, this is what's going to happen next. And I think if they're going to go into season 2, they have to really work on not being so obvious with surprises.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Now we are going to move on to Living in Bondage, Breaking Free.
Lola,
why do you don't tell me you don't like. Is this what we're going to fall out? Is this what we're going to fall out? Because I absolutely love the movie.
Oh my gosh!
Please end it now. End this now. Let's just go. Let's end on a high.
Oh my gosh. 2.5 hours, man. That movie.
I was in my feelings though. Come on, stop it. Like I was deep in my feelings.
Oh my gosh.
No, the first time I watched it, I was on the couch like, oh my God. I mean, I was grinning like an idiot. I was like, oh my God. For me, it was the little things. It was the
like
little
what?
things. For example, just the business of acting, or like leaving your two characters as car speeds up and leaves them in the dust. It was little things. Tobe, waiting for his cousin, right? And he's eating watermelon, and then he's spitting it out as he's running down to meet with him. It's those little things that we don't see in Nollywood. We see them in other films, and maybe this is why people feel like, what was the big deal? For me, seeing those things was a big deal because we don't film those things. We just go from boom, 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 dialogue, and we don't kind of let the camera linger on things.
There is one thing that I don't get a lot from Niger movies, and even in lots of the artistry generally, and sometimes I just can't relate. It doesn't. I mean, sometimes I get it in my head, but it doesn't really hit me like in my emotions. I don't feel any sort of connection. I don't feel any sort of connection with it in a deep sense. I can understand it, but I felt the connection in a deep sense in a lot of the scenes. The main character, that guy's a guy. Like, forget.
That actor was great.
Like he was good, because the thing is, and maybe it's a guy thing. I honestly 100% believed his drive to succeed.
I believed
I believed him, and the pain that he experienced, when he was struggling And another thing, he was actually clever. You know, a lot of all these Nigerian movies, they just make it look like, oh, the guy's a fine guy. You know, he just wants to make it big and that's it. And then he leads some bad guys and then they do something. But this is actually painful because, I could relate because he was clearly educated. He clearly knew what he was doing. He was trying his best. And he really should have been, if the world was a fair place, he really should have been given a chance to actually succeed without all the external factors that actually played a part in his life. So I think for him, from that perspective, I was sold. There were lots of things I was sold on. Him as an individual, his relationship with his adoptive parents, and his relationship with his brother. Like, we talk about male suicide and male mental illness and, you know, all of that. And I just felt like, you know what, this is such a good way to make it normal that guys should open up to guys and be there for one another. My favorite line, you did not bash the I can't cry. You did not bash the car. We bashed the car. But when he hits me, yeah, my chest. You did not bash the car. We bashed the car. That for me did it. Like, yeah.
Tolu, what did you think?
So let me talk about the things that I think they did well. I think they did a lot of the continuity, like you mentioned, well. I think that Ramsey Noah was just having so much fun chewing scenery like no tomorrow. He was just in his element and he was doing his thing. But I just wish it was a tighter story. I mean, does it really need to be 2.5 hours?
It was.
It's
a lot of the conversations. I mean, watching it again, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, these people are still talking about the same thing. You know, come on now.
The scene in the dungeon or the ceremony, the ceremony was about 5 to 7 minutes long. Yeah, I'm like, why? Okay, so you killed somebody, move on.
Exactly.
But then you have to realize that the audience that is watching it lives, breathes for those moments where we are like Nigerians love that, honestly. We do. And
but we want to see for 7 minutes though.
I mean, but have you not watched an Hollywood movie made for the masses? They spend so much time doing all these long, very unnecessary, like Jennifer, the final scene in Jennifer, I will always be so confused by, because tomorrow, I don't know what happened. It just went on. I'm not quite sure. But I realized that it's, I mean, for me, what I liked that it was a more cohesive story, but I think they dropped a lot of plot points. Came and went. The blogger that was, I mean, I didn't get the acting so much. I was supposed to be a little bit holding his whatever and doing this whole rocking thing. It was just, I mean.
It was, yeah, I could see where they were going there, but yeah. I mean, I thought
they were trying to portray obsession, weren't they?
Yeah, like, and he had this thing, like he was always drinking water and, you know, crinkling bottles and yeah.
It was OCD, I think. I mean, or one of these. He's very compulsive. He has compulsive behavior, but they didn't. I don't know whether, you know, I want to say research the role, but
yeah. Probably not. They probably didn't.
It's difficult, also because the way things manifest in Nigeria, like behaviors, we don't really know or observe them, so we have no idea. We get, and I see this happens a lot in Korean dramas too, is where they assume that's how people behave because that's what they see on television. So that's how somebody with OCD behaves, but it may manifest in a different culture differently. And I don't know whether we have any sort of information as to how those behaviors or mannerisms present. I'm also a psych major, so
yeah, I hear that coming out.
So yeah, but I did. What else did I like? The other thing I had an issue with, the women very much were plot. They weren't really integrated into the plot. I just felt they were accessories. I didn't like.
Well, I mean,
which women? Like the main.
I barely remember the girlfriend.
Really, I actually liked her.
I really did like her as well.
I really liked her because I felt she wasn't the typical girlfriend. I mean, she had
100%.
Yeah, and she you know, she was smart.
But here's the thing. Sorry, I keep jumping in because I really do like
this. It's okay. Go for it.
I I think as well, they did something. They didn't tell the whole story from the perspective of, oh, and then he fell in love with this woman, and then it was all about the woman. It really was about the guy. It wasn't a romantic movie. The relationships, his relationships were actually multifaceted, if that makes sense. He had to decide to kill his brother or not, his girlfriend or not. So it wasn't really just about her. So actually, I get your point that they didn't hold any sort of major part of well, actually, she did hold a major part of the plot, but it was really about the guy and his own struggles. And if you look at it from that perspective, I think you're allowed to see that the other people just completely fall to the background, and it's really about his own desires, his own struggles, and the crossroad at which he found himself. One other thing that I liked though was I like the fact that he'd been warned before, and I was wondering how is this guy going to go from knowing all of this and genuinely being a stand-up guy who knows his ish to joining a cult knowingly. And I like that scene where he woke up in his bed because it kind of absolves him of the responsibility of having gone into it with his eyes wide open, if that makes sense. Do you remember that scene where he woke up and he was like, oh, it was just a dream, and then he put some water on his face and he saw the lines in his hands, and then he remembered that he'd been stamped on the back, and he really went into a fit of rage in the bathroom by himself because it was like, oh, damn, what have I done? So I think that really explained the fact that how could he be so sensible and still have made this wrong decision? So I think they used that scene. I don't know if they did it deliberately, but for me, kind of explained, okay, so you didn't go into this with your eyes wide open. I get this now because I was wondering.
However, towards the end though, where he's just like, I didn't know it was supposed to be like this or something like that. And I'm like, huh? That I didn't get. Did you guys see that? Yeah, because I was just like, well, people warned you.
But you knew. Yeah.
You knew. So that part of the storytelling, I was like,
have you ever done something really, really bad?
You changed your mind. Really, just really admit, you changed your mind.
There's some bad things you do. when the thing hook you, you'll be like,
They didn't tell me.
I've been told, but
I did not know.
Come on. It's like this. You really be looking over your shoulder like,
come on, guy, take responsibility. But don't you love Toby? I love Toby.
I love Toby. I love Toby.
I don't know why he was not there for most of the film, but
that's one of the things that irritated me. One, and then two, I don't think there were any real consequences, except for the guy who actually killed his daughter and wife. I don't think there was any consequences for anyone.
Yeah.
And that really irritated me because, I mean, if you're going to cut it, like the devil's not going to let you go because you stabbed yourself. I mean, you didn't actually, you actually didn't fulfill your deal with the devil. And if he's really the devil, really, is he going to be flying away on a jet plane? I'm just like, okay, the father that had also sacrificed. I mean, he literally murdered somebody else. And there's this whole confrontation scene where he says something and the son answers back, and he just glossed over that and continued on his way. I'm just like, somebody just admitted something pretty serious.
Oh, you mean the scene in the office where he tells him he's dad? Yeah. Well, I mean, he just said, you are a murderer.
Yes, and then they continued. They didn't. I mean, I'm very confused. Somebody, and he's wearing his cassock and doing all. I mean, I'm just all of this.
But he has been forgiven. That's why he went into ministry.
Has he really? Somebody? If he has been forgiven, isn't his whole lineage being forgiven as well? And the son shouldn't have been part of the. So,
yeah, I think definitely storytelling. We need to work harder on that. Our stories. That's just the bottom line. So we're getting the other things. The production values are getting much better.
Yeah.
Right? The acting even. I'm realizing what Nigerian actors needed was directors. I just feel like the acting is so much better now. I don't know what you guys think, but it's so much more natural. I was actually impressed with the acting in this film.
I was completely. The scene where he met his girlfriend at that party was so endearing. It was so endearing. Like I was rooting for them. Like type thing.
I liked the girlfriend, the first girl he was toasting, because she went to the Catherine Heigl School of Acting, and I could tell that's where she's understudied to be able to get her mannerisms. Because I was just like, Yes, I know exactly who you watched to get this character. If I can tell which actress you understudied, I know that you studied somebody.
So this is what I'm noticing also, and I'm just like, is it a problem or not? I am seeing certain Western styles of reacting. I think Ibiyemi, you said something about this earlier, where people react in a way, and you're like, or maybe it was Tolu's, and you're like, do we react? You know, like, are these our mannerisms? I just sometimes I see some actors, I'm like, this is Oyinbo mannerisms on a Nigerian person, really.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I guess
but that happens in real life as well, though, because we are quite Western in our ways. But yeah, I think sometimes it's very affected in these movies. And you're like, please calm down. Please, are you the only person that's been to abroad? Move. Did he just touch my shoulder? Yes, he touched your shoulder.
I know, right? I know.
I still don't understand that scene, to be honest.
Neither do I.
Like, the pat on the shoulder scene?
Yes.
Her character, to be honest, was...
I didn't, exactly. I was like, was this necessary, really? Did we have to see... If you're trying to make a story tighter or a film shorter, could we have done away with this part? I guess they were trying to show us that he, deep inside, he said he's a village at heart boy, you know, he wasn't going for the obvious choice, right? That everybody would expect him to be with. The girl was very sophisticated and, you know, whatever. And went with this other more, I don't know, organic type relationship.
But the girlfriend too was very well spoken. I like the way she articulated herself very well. She carried herself like a proper girlfriend. Her acting, she's a great actress. He as well, I think he was very convincing.
Very convincing.
Very, very convincing. I mean, their love was, I was invested in their relationship, but this is too much now. Getting to
the last thing, like, what was she kind of begging him, tell me something, or what was she saying? That line she kept repeating, I can't remember. And I'm just like, girl, you know what this is. Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway.
As an aside, did you... That's white party. Did you notice one auntie that was wearing yellow? One solitary auntie that decided to wear yellow to a all white party.
I don't remember that. No.
That auntie, why now? As in, even the musicians that came to play were wearing white, but that auntie, if she decided, that was the one that's bugging you, bright yellow top. I was like, did the director not see this? Is it by force? Must she be there?
She must have been. Wow. There must have been some deal.
Could they not borrow her white robe?
I know, right? No, I think she was supposed to be in the movie. I don't know. Maybe she was one of the investors, producers, and she's like, I don't have white, but I must be in the movie.
I hate to be repetitive, but also, what did you think about the intimate scene that they shot?
It was just one, right? That one in the dark.
Just one. Yeah. I didn't like it.
Oh, really?
I get what they were trying to do. But I get what they were trying to do with the shadow, but it just made it look dark.
Yeah.
I was just like,
it was,
you want to see what's happening.
I mean, the thing about it, I get what they were trying to do, because intimate scenes in Nigeria aren't necessarily shot well.
You don't want to get banned. You don't want to get banned, right?
Exactly. So I mean, it's very difficult to do those scenes in Nigeria, but. I mean, it just looked, they could have done shots of shoulder or whatever and done better lighting. This was just dark.
Yeah, it was dark. And somebody actually made this comment on Twitter because, you know, he says, you're beautiful. And the person was like, how could he see? I thought that was funny. Anyway, so a quick thing.
No, go ahead. And I thought the conversation was cheesy. It was super cheesy. It's not romantic. It was cheesy.
I quite like the scene before where they were dancing though.
That's a bit better. That's a more romantic.
And again, that one I felt.
Again, I see them trying to like shoehorn that European or Western sensibility into Nigerian. You know, it's not working. You gotta figure.
We have to figure our own stuff out. Exactly. That's the word where we're forcing these things. Yeah. Because we see them in Western film and then we feel like, you know, and like we don't.
We must do.
Yeah.
We don't speak like that. We don't, you know.
Yeah.
Especially when
Rams.
when people are in relationships, the way we communicate. I mean, they got it better later on, like you said, when they were like, you know, sitting on the couch and they were like I mean, when they were going through the final arguments, that was more reflective of who we are than, I mean, even the scene before, when they were dancing, again, more reflective of who we are, the play, the kind of joking, like, you know, flirting kind of thing. And then they got to that scene, I'm just like, okay. Anyways, Lola, back to you.
No, okay, yeah. So just one more quick thing before we go, so that we're not accused of what we're accusing other people of. So we keep it short and tight. But one thing is, do you guys use subtitling when you're watching these?
I did.
Netflix.
I had to.
Yeah.
I had to.
And I have a huge problem with these Nollywood Netflix captions or subtitles. Tobe, not Toby, first of all.
Toby.
And then you too, they pass yourself. Becomes you truly do pass yourself. So anything that if they said you two became you true, I'm like, who is doing this?
And so
as a shop, you change the meaning of what the person is saying.
Yeah.
They completely missed. There were some phrases that they completely missed what was happening.
Yeah.
What they said and what's
exactly.
How does it work actually? Is it like a computer thingy magic? Is it automated or somebody has to vet it?
This
is a human.
This feels very human translated. That's the problem.
All right, okay.
Unfortunately, this is not a knock on anybody, but unfortunately, a lot of people who do these jobs don't necessarily have the grasp of English to actually make so it's not a knock, but it's not. I mean, if you get some of the best subtitlers, if you look at subtitles in Nigerian movies, they're awful. They're really bad.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, isn't it difficult to actually translate our native tongue, whether it's in Igbo or Yoruba or slang? It's actually difficult to find like an English equivalent, don't you think?
It's difficult.
I think we do a lot of mental gymnastics and we join lots of dots in our minds because we understand the culture and we understand the context. So we assume that we'll be able to articulate it in English. But if I asked you, how do you say you two do pass yourself? How would you say that in a way that actually conveys the meaning in English?
You two, okay, let's see. Let's try it. You two, they do pass yourself. You overestimate yourself, right? Could you tell that quiet?
You're doing too much.
Actually, no.
You're doing too much. Thank you. That's it.
Doing too much. Yeah.
You're doing too much. I mean, to be very honest, I think that they just need a better. Like, honestly, I don't speak a word, not a single word of any other Nigerian language but English. But I understand enough Pidgin to get Pidgin. And I think they need that first level of translation. And they need like another level that actually helps them, like somebody who had a better grasp of the English language, because it's not Pidgin or the local languages that are a problem. It's actually English. I think.
Yeah. It's finding the equivalent in English. Yeah.
Yeah, but even just some basic things like as a shop guy does not mean as a shop, SHOP guy. That's, come on. And then somebody says your father, and they say speaking Igbo. I'm like.
But and the funny thing is that you could actually, that's just a simple FU. That's.
Exactly. Tolu, I think you should go into the business of doing subtitles for Netflix.
They won't pay. I don't have time for that.
You hire people and then
Yes, sir.
That's a business idea for you.
But that's just for you go. That's another thing that I really liked about this. They didn't shy away from speaking Pidgin or Igbo. Or exploring that sort of cultural side of things with the wedding scene. And although the wedding scene, my wife was like, please, if they have money, is this how their wedding would look? So she wasn't buying that scene. She wasn't buying that one. But I think I really like, and for me, it showed a really big part of the culture as well. Which I think is important in these things.
The church scene where people, first of all, the camera just showed us. I was just like, that
was beautiful. That was beautiful.
I loved it.
I loved it for Nigeria.
Yeah.
You kind of forget that when you're on the ground and you're in traffic in Nigeria, it doesn't feel like that. When that scene made you be like, I want to be there, and then you're in Nigeria and it's hot and you're like, these girls still about to kill me. But that scene, it was very nostalgic.
It was. It really just reminded me of growing up and coming out of church on a Saturday, on a Sunday afternoon. Anyway. All right, guys. I just wanted to make sure there were other things. I think that's it. Just the little things again. The father tugging at the seatbelt after he had just given Namdi
Was that deliberate? Was that deliberate? I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Like I was like, was that on purpose or was that written as a script? Or did I just? I was howling.
One of the other things I loved about the scene was the way he actually turned and looked. I was just
know.
like,
yes, that's a Niger father.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then the scene in the living room where the mother, the father, and the two guys were talking. That was nice.
That was quite cool as well. I really like that scene.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's wrap it up. All right, well, thank you so much. This was fun. Next time we're going to be talking about The Delivery Boy and one more that we add. We'll see. Maybe A Light in the Dark.
Let me see. What was the other one I said? Okay, Delivery Boy is quite cool.
Yeah. Have you seen it yet?
I have.
Okay, so we won't say anything now.
Don't judge me. We've been on lockdown. Don't judge me.
Oh, well.
I've been watching a lot of television. I can see the judgments in your eyes. Like this one doesn't.
No.
I think we all have.
Started. I have watched enough. I won't even get started.
I'm even scared that I'm gonna overdo it, and I'll be like, I don't like TV or film anymore.
I have watched Bosch. I have watched so many. I mean, I'm watching Preacher, which is not for the faint of heart. There's so much TV. There's so much good TV out there.
Yeah, so much good TV. Actually, you're right.
All right. Well, so just hang on a second, people. It was nice seeing you all. Tune in for our next episode. Say bye.
Bye.
Thanks.